Hello, welcome to our third of 5 programs that we're doing towards the end of 2019 for the business school at the NWU. Today, my special guest is Professor Danie Meyer, and he's the Director of Trade, the Trade and Research Entity at the Northwest-University, focusing especially on imports, exports, everything that has to do with trade in its widest context. Danie, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Theo. It's nice to be here.
While we're talking, an investment conference is taking place, led by President Cyril Ramaphosa, to enhance investment in the country. And I guess part of it would impact on imports and exports. And while he is doing it, the Brits are having trouble sorting out Brexit, which I think we will discuss later on. But give us a view of where does South Africa fit in the world of trade?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a wide question, but we can say that South Africa and our economy is dependent on trade. We're quite isolated from the world. We know if we export from our region, it's always about 10,000 kilometers distance away. So we're quite isolated. We try to trade with Africa, but we know the big trading partners is Europe, US, and Asia. So we fit into the global environment. Our trade has been stagnating a lot. This year, so far, September, we had a negative trade balance of 2.9 billion rand. Our biggest trade partner is still China.
Single biggest.
11% of all our trade goes to China. Second is Germany at 9.6, and then the US at 6.9, UK at 5.4, exporting.
Yes.
Imports, China is also our biggest partner in terms of imports from China at 20%. So we've got a deficit in terms of trade with China, for example, and with the US, a positive trade balance. So that is very important to note, as well as with the UK. So that is important coming to the Brexit story for later on.
Now, I saw some figures a month or so ago where the IMF is saying that there might be a slowdown in global growth in 2020. Not huge, but a slowdown. I guess that is red flags for the South African import and export industry.
Definitely, and I think globally there's a slowdown in exports. All of the continents except for Oceania, there is a positive growth, but the US, Europe, Africa, for this year there's been a negative growth in terms of export. So that is red lights on for us. Latest news from the US is that the jobs and the growth figures look still positive. So it's like conflicting information we're getting at the moment.
Yeah, in the US, although this is not the topic of this discussion, a good US economy has certain political implications, thinking of Trump and all of these kind of things, but that's another discussion. Yeah. Now, I visited Mpumalanga a week or two ago, saw the huge growth in the citrus exports, the growth of avocados, and these guys said to me something that although our position at the southern point of Africa is generally regarded as a negative, to them it's a positive because the direct route to Asia is shorter, and we also have a benefit over South America, who competes with us on the avos and so on. So there are some advantages of where we are.
There is some advantages, but overall, if you look at the overall aspects of where we're located, it's not so positive. But I always feel that the agricultural sector is the place that we can grow. There's a lot of potential. There will always be a demand for products for agriculture. So we need to focus a lot on agriculture. Agriculture development leads to industrial development, and it helps us to have a positive trade balance. It ensures that food security is always going to be there. So we need to focus a lot on agriculture, remove the policy uncertainty that's there. That is preventing the agricultural sector to grow at the moment. We see that if I look at our products in terms of food and vegetables exports, we had a negative growth for the last month or two of about 14%. It's down at the moment. So the reasons for that we will have to investigate, but there is a problem in terms of our agricultural exports.
I guess it's the drought. The rains are seasonably late, and I guess that's part of it. Now, the UK used to be one of our biggest trading partners, historically. With Brexit, maybe you can just explain to the listener. Brexit means Britain divorces itself from the European Union.
Yes.
So it means we must now have an agreement with Britain itself.
Yeah.
Why are people worried looking from the outside in on Brexit?
Yes. Let me summarize it like this. The UK is a very important trade partner for South Africa. As I've indicated to you, it's the fourth biggest market for us, 5.4% of all our exports. And we've already got a new trade agreement with them. It has been signed, provisionally been signed. The UK we are a net exporter to the UK, which is very positive. We export more than we import, like in a different way. China, we import much more than we export. So they are a positive partner for us, and we are exporting about 1.5 billion a year net export to them. Our export to the UK has grown in the last 3 years a lot. So it's a very important market for us. We have got an agreement with them in terms of the European Union. We've got a negative trade balance with them, but total of our exports of 23% goes to the European Union, including Germany, as we've shown, the second highest. So the UK, only 5%, but it's a very important traditional trade partner for us.
Now, if you traditionally exported to Great Britain as an entry into Europe, that now stops. So you can't do that anymore. You must now send your stuff in two directions.
Yes.
Is that the correct understanding?
It will have an impact, and our exports to Europe is always difficult with their subsidies. Let's take, for example, exporting of fresh produce. You need to get it there quickly, and in the European Union, they subsidize their farmers. So we're competing with subsidized farmers with high productivity. Our productivity is much lower, so we are struggling with our competitive advantage in terms of our exports to Europe and to other developed countries as well.
Danie, this was great. In summary, what role does imports, exports, the whole trade environment play in the growth of the South African economy? Because that's the big challenge for 2020, growth.
Yeah, we need growth. If you look at the total economy, you've got consumer spending, you've got investment, you've got the government role, and then net exports. Net exports is the biggest factor in this whole picture to have growth. If we don't have export growth, and we see for this year we haven't got a growth in the export industry, we are negative at the moment. Look at the growth rate, it's below 1, it's close to 0.5. If we cannot have growth at above 4 or 5% per year in terms of our exports, the same will be with our GDP growth. There will not be sufficient growth for it. So we need to look at the right sectors, like the agricultural sector, remove the policy uncertainty. We need to look at tourism. Tourism for me is an export industry. People are coming in and paying money here like normal exports. So we need to grow there, as well as our motor vehicle manufacturing sector. That's a very key sector because we have forward and backward linkages that can let the economy grow and other sectors also to grow.
Danie, it was great to have you as our guest.
Thank you.
And I hope we can look towards 2020 that at least some of these issues that you indicated will turn positively and provide us next year with the kind of growth that everybody is looking for.
Thank you. It was nice to be here.
Pleasure.
Thank you.